A few years ago, I rented an apartment from a friend of mine. He had just bought the place and completely renovated it. Everything was new walls, floors, and windows. He wanted to sell it, but no one was interested. Since it was empty, I offered to rent it until he found a buyer. At first, everything seemed normal, but after a few nights, I started to notice something strange about the woman who lived next door. She looked about 45 years old, but her face and body looked much older. She stayed awake all night. Every night, she listened to loud Christian radio shows and talked out loud to someone who wasn't there. She wasn't talking on the phone. She was talking to herself. The noise was constant. I couldn't sleep. After several sleepless nights, I finally decided to talk to her. I went to her apartment and knocked on her door. When she opened it, I saw inside her place for just a few seconds, but it was enough to scare me. Every wall had crosses painted on it. They were different colors. Words like Jesus and angels were written everywhere in messy handwriting. The windows were painted black, so no light could come in. The carpet was old and yellow, probably over 50 years old. The apartment was damp and dirty. There was dog feces on the floor and cockroaches everywhere, but I didn't see a dog. I politely asked her to keep the noise down at night. She didn't say anything. She just stared at me, then slowly closed the door. A moment later, the radio became even louder. The next night, my girlfriend stayed over. In the middle of the night, I suddenly woke up. I felt like someone was watching us. I looked toward the side of the bed and saw a dark figure standing there. It was the neighbor. She was inside my apartment. She was standing next to the bed, staring at us while we slept. She was holding something in her hand, but I couldn't clearly see what it was. I had no idea how long she had been standing there. Then she spoke calmly and said, "You should lock your doors at night." After that, she turned around and walked out. She didn't run. She didn't rush. She just left. My girlfriend didn't wake up. I stayed awake for the rest of the night. The next morning, I heard strange noises outside my bedroom window. I looked down and saw the neighbor standing there. She was talking to herself in a strange language that didn't sound like English. She was holding a plastic bag. Inside the bag was a dead dog. The dog was badly decomposed. The smell was terrible. I realized then that the dog I never saw in her apartment had been dead the whole time. I went upstairs and knocked on another neighbor's door. A man answered. He looked just as scared as I felt. He told me something that made everything worse. He said that one evening, while he was watching TV with his children, the woman broke into his apartment. At some point, he stood up and noticed her standing behind the couch. She was staring at him. She was holding a power drill. His children started screaming. He froze in fear. That's when I called the police. The police told me that the woman was a violent schizophrenic and had stopped taking her medication, but there was nothing they could do. She owned her apartment, and they couldn't force her into treatment or enter her home. That night, I stayed awake. At around 2 a.m., I heard her leave her apartment. I knew her routine. She usually walked to the nearby 7-Eleven at that time. As soon as she left, I called the police again. This time, they caught her outside. They restrained her, put her into a van, and drove her away to a mental institution. After that, everything stopped. The radio noise was gone. The talking stopped. The apartment next door went silent. It was like she had never existed. But sometimes, when I'm lying in bed at night, I still remember her voice saying, You should lock your doors at night, and I still hear the sound of a power drill.